On the Triple M app and on your radio, this is the Rush Hour, JB and Billy.
Wrapping up the weekend of footy.
Get Purple in here and discuss footy.
This is Damo's recovery session. When you need a tool, call Coates Hire on 13 15 52.
In here comes the game's number one newsbreaker. Welcome, Purple.
Hello, Jim and Bill. And
Hey.
it's good to get back to positives and negatives out of a weekend, Bill, isn't it?
It is. It's good to have
Mr.
footy
Positive?
back. Oh, you're
Mr. Positive.
I am, but
Yeah.
you're what would you call yourself, Damian?
I'm glass half empty, Bill, as you keep telling me every Sunday.
Well, you are, old Debbie Downer. What do you got for us?
Now, we always start with the positives, don't we? And we're going to go into state to start with the main positive, in my eyes, Jim, and that was as much as you would want it to be the North Melbourne positive, which will be number 2.
Yep.
I reckon the Gold Coast Suns win against West Coast. No one could have seen that coming, and certainly no one could see it coming in the manner in which it did. A 5-goal-1 third quarter, and we've heard about this kid called Matt Rell, haven't we? We hear about him because he had a big profile leading into the draft last year. He went number 1. He went up to the Suns with his mate, Anderson, and in his second game of footy is almost certain to get a 3 Brownlow vote return for it. And that's quite extraordinary because they even reckon he's got bigger in the 12-week of COVID-19 shutdown. And, geez, he plays with some assuredness, Bill, doesn't he? Just the way he gets the ball. And he was tackled a few times and refused to go to ground and shook it off and then got the ball off. And
Luke Shuey was playing on him.
Yeah.
Luke Shuey's as hard as a cat's head. He's looking at him going, who's this bloke? He just kept banging into him. And I tell you, it reminds me so much of Joel Selwood, hard at it. And this bloke will captain the club. There's no doubt about it.
It seems that way, doesn't it? Even at 18, we seem to know that being the case.
2 games in, he's going to captain the club.
And they said this, Jim, didn't they, when they drafted him? And they even, like the first week he arrived at the club, it wasn't a guy that was introduced to the mix and said, look, just go over there and do your 20% of what the others are doing. He was straight in, all in, and was influencing straight away. And people were saying that back in November, even late October when he first got up there. So it's quite extraordinary. And to then see it with our own eyes, as we did on the weekend against West Coast. I mean, this is a team, West Coast, which was second on the premiership market.
No doubt. And still should be. But
and probably still should be, yeah.
But, no, you had him and Pui Anderson's kid, and then you got King in the forward half. There's 3 players, Bill. There's your next 10 years.
Exactly, but also
Lukosius, and they're starting to build a nice little cluster of talent.
And also, Jim, some bigger bodies. Greenwood's gone up there, bigger body. McPherson, Day played probably his best day.
Day was good, wasn't he?
He was very good. So they've got these bigger bodies now with Rao and that. So they took them on. They didn't take a backward step against West Coast. They said, righto, serve it up and see how we go.
And look, they've had good wins before, but there's something about this wave, and now that I think we've seen it, particularly with Rao being the prime mover in that significant win, I reckon we can now start believing when they do keep telling us we are on the right track now.
I agree with that, and not taking a backward step can certainly be applied to the Kangaroos.
Yes. Yeah.
They were. I was so impressed with the way they stopped for a start GWS's ball movement, but also just kept going at them.
Yeah, well, even when the Giants kicked 3 or 4 goals late in the game to get it back to a manageable margin for them with the time remaining, North didn't change, did they? No. The temptation may have been to chip it around a little bit, but there were goals to Zeeble from that mark from Dumont, the Taron Thomas goal from a nice setup, and then also the long bomb from Polek just to seal it. It was a really impressive performance. And the Cam Zurhaar thing, Bill,
we like him.
Last year he developed a semi-cult feeling.
Yeah,
He's officially a cult now, isn't he?
He is. Because he's forward. He's a forward, but he goes hard. He attacks it hard. We're just talking about him, Jim, weren't we? You've got to love him.
And the hair.
The hair, he doesn't give a stuff.
What he is a modern day, and a long way to be as good as, but a modern day Dermot Brereton style, isn't he? Yeah. Now Dermot used to just love barreling
and not
people.
care.
Did not care.
Yeah.
The Zoo is the same. But I tell you, as a long-standing North Melbourne man, Purple, what I loved as much as anything we're discussing is the rich Indigenous talent that North's had over the journey. Simpkin and Taron Thomas. Some of that shimmying late in that game.
Yeah.
That is, I might have got a little firm.
Oh.
I might have just reminded me of J&P Krakua back in the early 80s. That was beautiful, slicing through the middle. I love seeing that.
And
in that conversation, Winnie Abraham was one of
Winnie
my
was
all-time
superb.
favourites, even before he got to North from the Dockers.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that. That's just that little quick step through the middle there, just beautiful.
Good to see Simpkin, though, isn't it? Because
No,
the raps have been big on Thomas, and I reckon what he did in his first year last year was more than enough.
Yep.
And now we can see him going to take that next step. But it's been a bit of a bigger
Slower
battle,
burn
hasn't it,
with
for
Simpkin?
Simpkin?
Yep.
Yeah, but you can see it now why he went so high in the draft that he was taken in.
I love them. I love the Cats.
Yep.
I didn't think
Yeah, I
the
did
Hawks were
too.
great, but that's probably because Geelong were as good as they were.
It was important to have a good game, wasn't it, after Thursday night's 5-6, even though Brian didn't think it was a great game. But I thought it was a good game to watch,
Well,
too.
it was, but we did speculate as a media group who's going to benefit and who's not going to benefit out of the COVID-19 shutdown. We had the feeling the Cats would because they took in Duncan and Selwood and others a little bit underdone into that first game, and I thought they were okay against GWS way back in March.
They were.
But they clearly came out of that. They got the fitness into those players they needed to, and I think also too they've now had the courage to put into the middle Parfitt and remove some of the Ablett now moving down forward. I really Narkle was also a
Narkle's another
starter
one in there,
inside the centre, and I really like the messaging that gives to those individuals as well, but more importantly to an Ablett who, Bill, you noticed seemed to be carrying just a little bit extra.
Have you had him down the Cremorne?
Yes.
Yeah. Eating a few of your palmies.
And he had a little pot gut, which I don't mind because
no, of course you wouldn't.
I like that because he's going to play forward. He said himself he wanted to put on a bit of weight because he's going to play forward and get himself right. So I tell you what, when he uses it, he just uses it beautiful. But Parfitt just stronger and
Strong,
fitter.
isn't he?
Look
Yeah,
good,
strong.
look good.
So-
I like him.
Saints, good. Well done to them. We're going to talk about the Dogs in the negatives next. But also Essendon, got to hand it to them that travel and win. Well done to them.
And look, they held on against the Dockers in Melbourne in round one, and then they held on against the Swans in round two. And both those games could have gone either way. If they're 0-2, you just start to wonder again. But hey, they're 2-zip. They can get on a roll too. Because
what about Port?
Port? Yeah.
Ooh, what about that 2018 draft, Jim? Number 5, Rosie.
Yep.
He went
Brilliant.
at 5.
Extraordinary
5, and then 12, Zach Butters, and then 18, Dersma.
Dersma, yep.
We're going to look back that as the same as what? Buddy, Roughhead, and
Lewis.
They're shaping that way, aren't they? Particularly Rosie. I mean, Dersma, I love the excitement he brings, but Rosie is just a pure class act. And you go back a couple of drafts prior to that, Bill, Todd Marshall was a man, Jim, who
He's
slipped
really
lower
good.
than what he was talked about in that particular year. And we know he's had some personal issues with family situations, which were very sad. And he's just taken a little bit longer than he was meant to. But we saw on the weekend, he's clean with the ball, isn't he?
Yeah.
And while it was those three players that you mentioned, Bill, who were the highlight acts out of that particular game, he did more than enough to make you realise he is an elite talent. And it was also good to see, too, one of the old guys, our old mate, Travis Boak, to also probably be best on ground.
I tell you, there's another underrated footballer for him is Burn Jones. He doesn't get anywhere near enough credit for what he does across half-back. All right, negatives. And also, we're going to play something out of the break that we just need to revisit from the weekend.
We better say the Saints.
No, we did.
In passing, we did.
We did mention
that.
the
That was
Saints,
sensational yesterday.
We did
Almost
say that.
No, we've mentioned them now. Go,
Right,
move on.
Thank you, Bill. All right.
Because they were great. And Dramana driving was packed.
Stick around because we got a bit of audio to play next.
It's the Rush Hour, Triple M. It's the Rush Hour on Triple M, JB Bill, and for Coates Hire, Damian Barrett is in the studio.
Mitch Duncan has won this one out of the centre. The Irishman, Tui, penetrating long kick inside forward 50. And McAvoy back there.
I think you're fine. You might be calling the replay. I think did a bloody good job of it.
I think you're right too.
You're starting to Sandy Roberts on us.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was better the second time round than it was the first time. I'm going to say that.
What the hell?
Hey, guess what, Jim? Forgot
Joke.
they couldn't play it this morning on Hot Breakfast. Ran out of stuff, they reckon.
Did they?
Had too much stuff. Couldn't play that
Really?
this morning.
Is that what
Maybe
it
they'll
was?
play tomorrow morning, Bill.
No, now, what I love about that is, of course, in these times, you've got to call off tube, as we call it, off screen. It's all new because of the COVID lockdown. But what I love is the amazing and warm and heartfelt support he got from Nafe and from C. Judd, 3 votes.
So CJ just condescendingly, I think you're calling a replay, Das. And then Nathan, and we've all seen Brownie in these situations, he prays for these moments where someone is under the bus and he will just giggle. And you want to hit him first more than you do the bloke who actually raised it.
You
So
just want to hit him.
No one enjoys another man's misery more than Nafe Brown.
he spends his whole week trying to find it on others. And then when it presents itself on a platter like it did Friday night, he's all in.
Would have been great if it was Saturday and you did it, Jim.
I think you would have enjoyed that, Fab, would you?
Jim's never been wrong, Bill.
I'm not doing that.
Or
Fab.
sorry.
been wrong.
Or sorry.
Not doing that.
Negativity.
All right,
Who
come
are
on.
we pointing the finger
Well,
at?
we're going to go to the match review panel as a starting point,
yes,
Bill. And I
please.
know they operate under the box ticking criteria, but to keep giving onus and weight and merit to the injury or lack thereof suffered by the victim, in inverted commas, of an AFL incident, Bill, I just don't like it. It was an accident that Paddy Dangerfield wasn't concussed by Sean Burgoyne. And as such, it meant that Burgoyne gets a fine and not a suspension. Had he been knocked out, he would have been suspended. But I think if we remove that, we can then get the message out in a clearer way than we are getting, because we keep getting told, Jim, the head's important and we don't want these types of incidents.
Kids.
But here we are. An AFL system is allowing Burgoyne to play this week.
And we all love Sean Burgoyne.
Absolutely.
He is a magnificent bloke. But if that was Mitch Robinson, he's getting 2 weeks.
If it's Lindsay Thomas, he's getting 3 or 4.
It is. So that is appalling in itself. And I love Sean, we all do, but it's not about that. It's about if that's someone that the AFL go, well, you've had enough,
Toby.
then you're copping a couple of weeks. There's no doubt, I don't care who was the perpetrator of the act, that should have been at least a week's suspension.
At least one. And then if you know that is one for this upcoming season, it's probably not going to happen anywhere near the amount of times that it will happen. It'll happen this weekend, Bill and Jim. And you know what they'll do? They'll then give that bloke a suspension.
All we asked for, Damo,
is consistency.
And it's
what we don't get, Bill, with the match.
It's irrelevant whether the ball had spilled clear or not. It's still a dangerous way to tackle a player, and it should have been a week.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's funny that and I think most in the public have this view, but yet the system itself was allowing Burgoyne to run around.
The Adelaide Crows were as appalling in a showdown as I've ever seen.
Ever. Are they rock bottom?
Yeah, I reckon they are, Bill. They came in 1991, don't you?
On and off the field.
Yeah, I reckon. So I had a quick think about this just even yesterday, Bill, in passing. And 1991 was when they entered the competition. I can't recall a time when this has been sustained now since basically half-time of the 2017 grand final. Basically, not one thing has gone right. And even before then, they've had player exits of a significant nature, haven't they?
Way too many.
Yes.
Way too many. And big names. And even going into this showdown, out of nowhere, the most celebrated and decorated Crow in Andrew McLeod, two-time Norm Smith Medal winner, comes out and says stuff that has to be listened to, and because it does resonate. And he hasn't backed away. He's now had 3 goes at it. So clearly something's happened. That was the lead into the showdown. And you talk about, is it their lowest moment? That's what they dished up at a time when they've had 12 weeks off to try and get themselves right. Yeah, it probably is.
I reckon it might be.
But, Purple, if I'm the chairman of the Dockers 2 years ago, I'm not calling an extraordinary board meeting, but at the next board meeting, I'm having half an hour put aside to ask the CEO, the head of footy and the coach, how is it that Lachie Neale is leaving our club to go to Brisbane, who at the time were last?
Yeah.
How's that happening? Now, there would be an inquisition as to... Adelaide have had that same scenario happen 10 times in the last 7 or 8 years.
Yep.
Talking about Jack Gunston, talking about Mitch McGovern,
Jake
talking
Lever.
about the great Patrick Dangerfield, we're talking about Jake Lever, Charlie Cameron.
Eddie Betts.
I mean,
Josh
it is ridiculous how many players have requested to leave that place.
Yeah, it is.
How does that happen?
And look, even Crouch last year, I don't care what anyone says. He certainly opened the possibilities around that himself, and he ended up staying. But that's going to go around again, isn't it, this year?
The Western Bulldogs. Let's move on.
Yeah,
what is going on there?
Well, we need to now look at it, I think, in a 3-match block. The elimination final last year against GWS, where they just got mauled. They then had the whole summer to then maybe delude themselves about being on the right track apart from that one game, Jim. They then dished up what they did against Collingwood in round 1 and a 9-goal loss there. And then against St Kilda last night, to your point, Bill, the Saints were unbelievably good, particularly after quarter time. But the manner in which some of those goals were scored will be the major issue. And there's clearly selection issues. I mean, you had Trengove not playing, you had Cordy not playing, you've had issues around Toby McLean being in and out, and Liberatore we were told was fit to go and is not selected, and Gow is coming into the team. There's a lot of question marks over where they're at, and now they've got a game going in this week to against their now great rival in GWS, and they've just got to show something finally, don't they? Because I know it's 0-2. It's not over, but they're not playing in any form of manner that makes you think they're going to be okay.
Jack McRae didn't attend a centre bounce last night, I'm just hearing, from Rabsy. McRae's one of their best midfielders.
Well, he was even out of the team, wasn't he, in the opening game? So it just...
McRae was.
Oh, McRae. So I've got him mixed up with McLean. Sorry. Yeah,
McRae.
He wasn't in them centre at all.
That's what Rabsy just passed on. He did that game yesterday. So something going on there, isn't there?
There seems to be.
They look a long way off the pace.
They do.
Melbourne. What the hell happened? They're 47 points up and should have been beaten.
Yeah. And I think if you're Melbourne, you take it, don't you, Jim?
Of course you do.
A win's a win.
Of course you do.
And obviously they got some game time into Harley Bennell, which is a really nice story. Didn't have a major impact on the game, but the fact he got through is a good thing. But
2 kids look good too, I thought. Both
Trent
of them live with
Rivers
my
look
brother.
good, didn't he?
Both
Are
look
they?
good,
Both
yeah.
of them,
Yeah.
mate? Yeah, I knew the big Luke
No,
Jackson
they're good
was.
boys.
Yeah.
They're both good boys from Perth, but I thought they both looked pretty comfortable at the level.
Rivers particularly the way, and obviously Jackson being bigger, but he didn't look out of place, did he? And that's a good sign. Look, that game could have gone either way, and the fact that Carlton probably in the end should have won. I think if you're Melbourne, you take it, given what they've dished up since 2018. We touched on the Crows. Hawthorn, I think it's a watch this space. So I really do. I know they had the win in round 1, but what they did on Friday night, Bill, was out of sorts. And if you just have a look at the makeup of their team and the recruits they've brought in, and you look at their under 24s, and there's some nice talent on it, but Who's
their best kid?
Well, I go with Warple. Yeah. There's massive raps on McGuinness, who was a draftee of last year.
But Warple was picked number 40 or 50.
Yeah, he was low, wasn't he? He won the best and fairest, as we know last year. Yeah.
But Lordo asked this, didn't he? And it was a bloody good point.
Yeah.
They've got no real young kids coming through, and I know I've spoken about it for a couple of years. So, but it's just that Clarko's a good coach too.
But even giving up Burton as they did at the end of 2018 to Port Adelaide, and bringing Wingard in, but they gave up a draft pick which also Bill netted one of those 3 players you mentioned in getting rid of Burton as well to get Wingard in. Wingard hasn't proven his worth at Hawthorn yet. O'Meara's been solid, but again, I don't think he's been a game changer per se. Scully, look, he's had some nice games, but Patton's played the 2 games this year, and who knows? He was certainly the conditions didn't suit, but when will they suit this year? So, yeah, I think there's a few issues, a few worries.
Freo, the other one, they're very stiff, Freo. They could easily be 2-0.
Well, they lost the first game by 6 points. We saw that, and we saw them again on Sunday, and they lost by 12, but could have won.
Could easily have won.
If that marked a tab.
One of the most appalling pieces of umpiring of all time. But you know what I say about that, Bill?
What?
It was so clearly a mark, so it was a mistake. But umpires are entitled to make a mistake.
That's right.
But where's the other umpire on the ground? Why isn't he coming in going, no, mate, you must have been unsighted. That's a mark.
That's a mark.
Could
and
the
then
goal
you turn
umpire,
it over.
he was right there. Could he even say something?
Well, he could say, listen, I reckon you'll find he marked it, and if he's got faith in that, but he obviously can't make the decision the way the AFL likes the umpires structured.
Field umpire should have stepped in and said, mate, you might have been unsighted. That is a mark. It has to be paid a mark. And then the right decision's made.
It was a crucial time, wasn't it?
It was
absolutely crucial time.
Right,
we touched on West Coast too. McGovern is appealing the suspension that he got for hitting Sexton.
Ollie Wines, is he in Port Adelaide's best 22?
I would leave him out again this week, Bill, given how well the Power played without him on the weekend. And look, according to Treaders, Warren Treadway, he wasn't in their best 22 even before the COVID-19 breach and sanctions.
Highest paid player.
Yeah.
And also, can the quarters be changed to 20 minutes during the year?
I'd be staggered, Bill, if they do. The AFL Commission isn't in the habit of making monumental decisions, as that was, to reduce the season to 17 games and reduce the quarters to 16, and then to just second guess and be beholden to people who tell them they should. It's not their style. I reckon they'll keep it at 16.
And, Jim, I got asked this on the weekend. I asked this to Damo on the Sunday Footy Show. If you get suspended for breaking the COVID-19 rules, can you still win the Brownlow medal?
Oh, and what is the official ruling?
Yes, you can.
Oh, there you go.
So Ollie Wines, who got suspended, but he can still win the Brownlow. Yeah.
All right, very good. Nice seeing you, Purple. Thanks for that.
Thank you. And on the way out, the bus, Jim, I think we might just...
Where are you sending it?
We're going to send it to the doggies down at Whitten Oval.
Your mates.
It needs to go down there, Jim. They've lost 3 matches in a row. We've got that one all over.
Are you driving it?
No,
I wouldn't go over there, Purple, if I were you. I'd stay this side of the West Coast.
Come on,
We'll pay a driver for that one, Bill. There's one at the Crows too, Jim, and we're just going to put out the feelers for a third bus to go down to Waverley if there's a little bit going on. But we're not going to send that one out in motion just yet.
All right. Well done, Purple. Good seeing you.
It's the Rush Hour, Triple M.